we hear in St. Luke's Gospel. And he begins the Acts of the Apostles with the account of Jesus' being ascended into heaven, that the disciples present, those faithful apostles of his, see him physically rise from the earth and ascend into heaven. They see him leave this earth after having been with them 40 days after he is risen from the dead. They see him rise, go into heaven, and standing there looking at the sky, two men dressed in white, angels of the Lord, appear before them and say, "Men of Galilee, why are you standing looking at the sky? Jesus has told you to go to Jerusalem. Go and pray." What is glorious about Jesus' ascension into heaven? Many wondrous things. He takes his rightful place in heaven and reigns at the right hand of the Father. That's what the Ascension teaches us. No spiritual master of any other world religion is there at the right hand of the Father. There's no Buddha there. There's no Muhammad there. There's no Tao there. Nothing and no one but Jesus sits at the right hand of God the Father. For Jesus is the Son of God and very God himself. God from God, light from light, true God from true God, as we say in the Creed. We also say that he ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of the Father, from whence he shall come to judge the living and the dead. Jesus ascends into heaven, prepared to come back to earth at the second coming from the throne of heaven to judge the living, those who will partake in everlasting life with him, and the dead, those who have condemned themselves to everlasting hellfire. The ascension of Christ reveals his glory because it reveals who he is, what he is doing, interceding for us at the right hand of the Father, and what he will do, return and judge the living and the dead. Saints in the making, as you pray the second glorious mystery, the ascension of Jesus into heaven, remember this second great wonder that reveals his glory. He who is infinitely rich, Christ, the Son of God, comes down to become one like us and makes himself infinitely poor. He becomes incarnate. He shares in our humanity. He now has a body, a human body, which he did not have before. Dying and rising to new life, and then ascending into heaven, he ascends body and soul into heaven, which means our humanity is seated at the right hand of God the Father. Our humanity is redeemed. Christ, in his majesty and in his glory, reigns in a human body. And that gives you and me great hope that we too, in our human body, reunited with our human soul, will reign with him, please God, one day forever in heaven. That is good news indeed. But first, my dear friends of Christ, for that to happen, you and I, we need to make space for grace.